And we're live.
Okay guys, we're in the Marco River. I'm gonna point you right here off the side of the boat. We got a mom and calf. And today we're talking about subadults, which is the kind of graduation popping up. There's mama, little baby on the side. Calf looks really tiny, but actually is a 2-year-old. It's just like humans, not all dolphins are the same shape and size. This mom is at least 10, 11 years old and is extremely tiny. And so is the calf as well. They're moving off to the right now. They went right under us. This is actually Batman and Robin. It's kind of funny because Batman's the mom, and that's why we pick more gender-neutral names. You see the footprints, and they're definitely traveling, moving up towards Tiger Tail Beach, which is the beach up ahead. And there's some other dolphins ahead as well, so maybe they're going over to meet up with these others. And even though they seem kind of far apart, we have one pair by the boat and another pair at least way further ahead. It's definitely within range of communicating with one another. So we'll see if they interact at all. Sometimes they just like us, if we're walking down the street and there's somebody we don't really know, we might wave and say hi but keep going. But sometimes they're meeting up. And if it's another mom and calf, they could have like a play date. So Batman was first identified in this same spot, the mouth of the Marco River here. 6 or 7 years ago, we sighted this little dolphin by itself many times in this spot of the river, usually alone. We let a little boy on the boat name it the first time we saw it. He wanted to name it Batman. So we said, no harm done. We named the dolphin Batman. Well then, 5 years passed, and then one day, Batman showed up with a baby. So we know it's not Batman, it's Batwoman. And it was a first-time mom, which is really special because most first-time babies don't survive because of mom's inexperience, toxin levels in the water from pollution, or harmful algae like the red tide we have here. So really exciting is, Robin just hit his 2nd birthday, and he's got 1 year left, so he won't be graduating to a subadult yet, but that means mom could get pregnant this year. She would carry the baby this entire 3rd year, and then next year, Robin will be off on his own. Then he graduates to the next stage of the life of a dolphin, which is a pretty big chunk of their life. It could be, usually starts at around 3 and runs into an average of about 10 years old. A little younger for females, a little older for males, but they have roughly about 7 or so years of being this subadult. And they're like teenagers, so just like if you guys have any older brothers or sisters that are teenagers, they're gonna have similar behavior. They're gonna be really social, wanting to have fun, going off on their own, but also more likely to get into trouble because they don't have mom by their side. So they know how to fish, they know how to socialize, but they're still learning. So sometimes they're the ones that we see getting entangled in fishing line, like we had Seymour last year. He was a subadult, about 8 years old, and he managed to get tangled up in fishing line. Sometimes boat propellers we see from the young guys as well. Now, if you're a female, when you're about 8 years old up to about 10 years old, then you'll leave the subadult group at that end stage of the subadults, and that's when we get the first clue if they're male or female. The females will kind of leave all the teenagers. They said, I got time to grow up. You guys are too immature for me. They start hanging out with the moms and babies and start practicing, getting that experience of how to raise babies. If you're a male, you'll wait another year or 2, and then you'll leave the subadults a little more gradual and start pairing up with a buddy, forming your pair bond, which will be our next topic. So most of the time, the subadults, we have no idea if they're male or female. There you go, they're off behind us now. They kind of took a little break for the beach. They're going right up to the beach over there on this other side. And there was at least 4, thinking the fin I saw was not Batman, so they may all be over there together, close to the rocks on the beach. And even though they're traveling most of the time, 2 out of 3 sightings, it's a traveling behavior. But along their travels, they'll fit in other behaviors. They'll stop and rest, they'll stop and catch fish, they'll stop and socialize, and just kind of continue that throughout the day. Even though their ranges are really small, they have to keep moving. They have to keep moving to find the amount of fish. If they just kind of stayed in one spot, they would just be waiting for the fish to come across their paths, and they wouldn't find enough to keep their bellies full. So they're having to cover a lot of ground, even though it might not be wide as far as miles. They're going back and forth, in and out of all these little coves and waterways looking for fish. So we know we started off with the oys are coming past us. This is another mom and calf. This is Sparkle and Wintress. Sparkle is the mom, and there's Batman and Robin. So they met up, and now we have two pairs cruising down the beach. Batman and Robin a little further back, Sparkle and Wintress are a little up. So they did meet up, kind of cool to see. And they'll travel together for a while. The calves can play together. Wintress is from last year. Robin's from actually they're both 2-year-olds. So both of these guys are turning 2 this month. So both of these moms could potentially get pregnant this fall, and this would make Wintress and Robin their last year with mom. Off ahead a little bit. Just cruising up. So this is Hideaway Beach that we see, the beach right behind them there. And then straight ahead, what sticks out is Tiger Tail Beach. It's a very productive spot. It's kind of like a dead-end cove that the tide runs in and out, pushes a lot of fish in and out through shallow water. The dolphins can kind of use that for fishing. So these guys have potentially 1 year.
It's floating.
Yeah, I think that's probably trash. So this is an example, a perfect example. It's really strange. It looks like maybe it's like a crab trap. Looks like a float maybe. They do have blue crab season where you can catch blue crabs in traps all year long. And just in a couple of weeks we'll have stone crab season starts, which is a big delicacy down here. And there's lots of regulations on the stone crabbing. But remember, if anybody saw Winter in Dolphin's Tail, or heard of us talking about Seymour from last season, a big problem is those guys getting tangled up in old crab trap lines. So we do have to be very careful on the quality of our fishing lines and crab trap lines and boat lines, because if we lose them, they sink to the bottom, and then they have all kinds of fragments of line that they can easily get tangled up in. And not just the dolphins, manatees, sea turtles, there's lots of other animals that have trouble with these entanglements. And that line lasts for decades, if not hundreds of years. So we gotta be very aware that we're not losing that stuff into the water for these little guys. And the subadults are very social, and it's hard for them, that first year. So when these guys leave their moms, their highest chance of not surviving is right there, because they have all of that responsibility. They're free, so it's fun because they get to kind of go on their first adventures being free, no attachments to mom's not nagging them or calling them, pulling them one way or the other, but they have nobody looking out for them, so they got to catch on quick or could get into trouble. Would be the highest chances for potential shark attack, because if you're 3 years old, you might be 200 pounds or so and on your own traveling. So if you run into a bull shark that's 8 or 10 feet, so there's Sparkle and Wintress there. And you'll see, if you get a chance to see, Wintress is much larger than Robin, even though they're almost the exact same age. They're actually much different in size. It doesn't necessarily mean one's healthier than the other, just some guys, just like people, they're turning around, they might be finding some fish right along the beach there. And remember, I'm recognizing these guys by the markings on their fins. The baby's fins are really smooth. But we look at mom's fin, Batman or Batwoman, there's Sparkle there. Sparkle's got a couple long notches along the back side. That's how I can see her. Oh, there's little Robin taking off. And then Batman has kind of a pointy fin that's kind of crooked on the tip. It's a very kind of distinct shape. I think the calves are practicing their fishing, so this is perfect time for them to really get good at it. This is like the countdown. 1 year to be able to catch, for these little guys, about 10 pounds of fish a day. And as they quickly grow, that amount will have to increase upwards to 20 to 30 pounds, depending if they're male or female. Because the males will get much larger. There's Sparkle again. And there's Batman coming up right on the inside. All right, so they definitely are working together, traveling together. This is when the moms can get a little rest because the babies will kind of entertain each other. Batman's a first-time mom. Sparkle is at least her third calf that we know of. She's an experienced mom, so it's good for these first-time moms to hang around moms that have that experience. And we don't know for sure, but because the project's not quite old enough, but there's a high chance, or a pretty good chance, that Sparkle could be Batwoman's mom. So this could be like mom, baby, and grandma potentially. So really cool, just making their traveling, making their rounds, heading towards Tiger Tail, preparing these babies for their big graduation day, their third birthday, when they leave their moms and become subadults. Free in the wild and developing relationships, but having to really be careful so they don't get caught up with any sharks or entanglements and things like that. Okay guys, well I think that's all for now. We got a good sighting of some moms and calves. Cool to see some of our older calves that are starting their preparation for subadulthood. And you know, there's lots of other teenagers running around, and as we run into them, you guys will get to meet them and see those teenager behaviors there as they come pretty much right across the bow, just traveling right along with us here. Some good moms, Sparkle and Batwoman, girl, whichever you prefer. It's okay. All right, guys, that's all for now. See you on Wednesday.